What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our PGA DFS picks for the 2021 US Open. Craig, before we head over to Torrey Pines, we got to go back to the East Coast, look at a Palmetto Championship picks recap. 4 of 6 make cuts. It was a brutal to get 6 of 6 through. But of those 4 top 10s. Tyrrell Hatton, T2. DJ Fitz, Pat Perez, T10. I love that Pat Perez call by you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was sticking to the top end of the player pool and the lower end, so maybe a little bit safer when you have DJ and Matty Fitz, both his picks. Yeah. But Pat Perez was a good one, and then man, it was just a bloodbath in terms of percent through. So break even week for me, and focus on the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I was gonna say the whole time we had one eye on Torrey Pines. I'm not gonna lie. Follow us on Twitter at Grandstand Golf. That's where we put out all our content. So we have our YouTube, but we put out everything on Twitter. Subscribe, of course, to our YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. Let's do some picks. We're going to do 3 each. We don't necessarily agree on each other's picks, but if we do, we'll usually say it. But 3 picks each, Craig.
Yeah, and let us know who your top pick is as well in the comments below. Anything else, Adam? Jump into it?
Let's do it. I'm stoked. Okay, my first pick here, I'm going with the hometown guy, Xander Schauffele, playing the narrative, 9,300 on DraftKings. He's 9th. On FanDuel, 11,400. He's 8th. First off, I feel like the DraftKings price is too cheap. I think he will be popular, so I'll put that out there. I think he's too popular, or he will be popular. But it also just seems like there's question marks. We had our podcast, Craig, and we had our fades on that. And we had 3 fades inside the top 5. I think might be a good week to go fairly balanced, start in the low 9s area. And I think Xander's a good one to start at. So kind of a few things I'm going to look at here, kind of how they're playing, Torrey Pines record, US Open record. So Torrey Pines record for Xander has been kind of well documented, but I think he has a better record at Torrey than advertised. He has plus 1.38 strokes gained total over the course of 10 rounds. He was T2 here this year. He had a string of missed cuts, but he's still a young golfer. He definitely had nerves on Torrey Pines the first few times that he was playing here in front of the hometown crowd. There is a ton of pressure on Xander this week with the US Open at Torrey Pines. Who knows if it'll come back in his career. So there's a ton, like he has said, this is the major. If there's any major anywhere in the world, he wants to win the US Open at Torrey Pines. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. I feel like he's at the point in his career where he can kind of shoulder that a little bit more, less so than 3-4 years ago. He ranks 2nd in strokes gained total the past 12 months at plus 2.02 compared to his 9th salary. I like that. He also ranks 2nd in our Grandstand Golf DFS model and the Data Golf model. Data Golf are guys that are pretty good with their analytics. Mm-hmm. In his 16 majors played, he has, I think major performance has a good kind of indicator across all majors, whether it be PGA, Masters, Open, less so, but I think it's a good indicator, strong, tough, hard courses. He has top 10s in 8 of 16 majors played, and then his absolutely insane US Open record where he's gone T5, T6, T3, and 5th. I love Xander this week. I'm going to not try to go crazy overexposed, but I definitely think I'll have more than the field.
Yeah, I mean, basically every week I feel like one of us is picking Xander. We're big fans of him as a player. I love the pick. I love the price. The only concern I have is ownership, and that I'm going to play him regardless. But I am very curious. 9,300 is such an attractive price on Xander. I'm curious to see how much flocks to him. You have all the narratives. You've got the U.S. Open record, so it will be interesting. But that said, he's going to be in my player pool. I guess maybe, check out our podcast. We're going to be putting out a DFS preview podcast where we'll get a little bit more into the strategy. But yeah, yep. I mean, Xander to me, when he's priced 9th in the US Open field, is a slam dunk pick.
Yeah.
My first one here, I'm going Rory McIlroy. I haven't picked him in a while, at least. So I've been holding off. I like Rory here, though. He's falling to 6th in the field in pricing, both DraftKings and FanDuel. 9,900 over on DraftKings, 11,600 on FanDuel. You look at the strokes gained total stats. This is why he's fallen to 6th. last 3 months, last 6 months, he's 36th and 23rd in this field in terms of his strokes gained total. 12 months, he's 15th. You got to go back to 2 years of data, and then you start to see, okay, yeah, 2 strokes gained per round. He's 4th over that time. So, the long-term Rory, obviously he's a stud. He's right at the top of the pool, but the nearer term has not been as good. But what I am saying, what I am thinking, I think, Rory very publicly is working with a new swing coach and everything that goes along with that. I think Rory is... I just think he's kind of underrated. I think people are thinking he's still in a bit more of a slump than he is. You look at his last 11 rounds. He's gained strokes in 9 of them. Only 2 rounds that he's lost strokes over the course of the round. He's 2.34 average over those 11 rounds. But the thing I like the most about it, his approach has been good. So it's not just like Rory where we see he's actually his gaining off the tee hasn't been as good. But that, I mean, if you think back to the PGA Championship where he was, how many times was he out there looking for balls that had gone into a penalty area? So I don't worry with Rory. I don't worry about the driver. I think that, if Rory's going to contend this week, his driver's going to be good. But the approach seems to be the one that comes and goes a little bit more. His approach has been positive in 10 of those 11 rounds. He's averaging, including the negative round, he's averaging 1.42 on approach. So those are the numbers that I think when Rory gets back into form, he's going to be top 5, top 10 every week. So those are the type of numbers I think we're going to see as he is coming back into form. Great record at Torrey. He's got only 9 rounds, but it's averaging 2.4 strokes gained over those 9 rounds. And then the last one for me, I think a lot of people think of Rory as a major disappointment. In major championships, he seems to underwhelm. He seems to underachieve. I think in part that is just because of the expectations we put on Rory. Yeah. I think that the reality is that Tiger sort of skewed what people think the top players in the world should be doing in majors. And it's also just a different generation. It's a different era of golf. There's a lot more competition at the top. But anyways, you look at 49 starts in majors, which he's been doing since he was 18 years old, by the way. 4 wins, that's an 8% clip. That's not bad when you look at it historically. 13 top 5s, 27% of the time. Over a quarter of the time he starts a major, he's in the top 5. 22 top 10, so 44% of the time in a very, very large sample size. He's in, it's a top 10. So I think that the whole Rory disappointing in majors is just because we kind of expect him to, after he won 4 over the course of, 2 or 3 years there, we kind of expected that to keep up. And it hasn't, but he still has been putting up results. And so I like Rory. I think it's a course that he has, that sets up well for how he plays. And I think it's just a matter of really, to me, if the putter shows up and the short game scoring shows up.
Yeah, the one thing I would want to look at is kind of, I am buying, I don't usually look at green surfaces and buy into that whole narrative, but I do think it is a little bit different on the West Coast. You get the Poana. His plus 2.4 here at Torrey is definitely a good sign. I want to dive into, how his strokes and putting have been across those 9 rounds. But if I am going with a quote unquote superstar, Rory looks attractive, and he's going to be my player pool. I made one lineup, starting there, and I really liked it. A little bit under the radar for, I think, where he should be. Like, he kind of ticks all those boxes of what a U.S. Open champ should look like. He's got recent win, he's all these kind of boxes that he's checking. It works out for Rory. It's just been a little bit iffy, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and you know what? I might have had some microphone problems there. Hopefully it's a little bit better now. But if not, you missed a fantastic spiel about Rory. I'll make sure I bump up the volume a bit when I'm editing so that you can really get all the crisp points. But yeah, the one thing I do worry about when you get someone like Rory falling to 6th in this field is ownership. But hopefully, just because of there's not a ton of sexiness to picking Rory right now, I don't think. So hopefully that does keep the ownership down a bit.
One thing to clarify, when we are picking, we're usually talking GPPs, larger GPPs.
Yeah, for sure. My
second pick, I think I've picked this guy every major since we've been doing this, but I'm not going to stop because he still keeps getting top 10s. Tony Finau, 8,900 on DraftKings, 13th ranked pricing, 14th on FanDuel at 10,600. So as I said, top 10s in 10 of 20 majors played. If you listen to our preview or our picks podcast, I made an error. I said he's played in 17. He's made 17 cuts in majors and top 10 in 10 of those. That's the 59%, but it's 50% top 10 for the majors that he has started. And that does include, so looking just at the US Open history, 2 missed cuts, 5 starts, 3 top 15s. So 3 of 5 times he is getting in the top 15. I think 2 of them are top 10s as well. So US Open sets up well for him, I think. Kind of like all these kind of superstars, but sets up well. His history at Torrey Pines, though, is absurd, absolutely crazy. 7 starts here, 7 top 25s, 4 top 6s, plus 2.06 strokes gained total. I think this is a course that he loves, that he can play very well. Distance, like Rory, like Xander, is definitely going to be something that you need here, I think, to win. I think you can compete and, top 10 as maybe a shorter hitter, but I think it's going to be one of these guys that can push it out there that wins. For the season, for the year, he's positive in every stroke gained category except for putting, but this is where I did a little bit of a deeper dive. His best event in 2021 was at Riviera on a Poa surface on the coast, in Los Angeles, coast of California. He has positive strokes in putting in 14 of 20 career rounds at Torrey South. So I think if you look through kind of his strokes in putting through the past few years on these California surfaces, he does, and even the U.S. Opens that have POA history, going back to Pebble Beach, playing there, he putts better on this surface. And I don't know if it's just something he's comfortable with, but anyways, he's putting positive, and put that with one of the best ball strikers in the world year in, year out. I like that. I just think he loves Torrey. I talked about it on our picks show, so if you want to go more in depth about Tony Finau, go there, the whole Puerto Rico curse thing. I like Tony Finau this week.
Yeah, similar to Xander to me, I kind of lump Xander, Finau, and Hovland into a similar bucket where I like, and neither of us have Hovland as a pick this week, which is a little bit surprising because basically we like him every week and we usually find a way to squeeze him into the show. But, I think all of them are going to have ownership. I think a lot of these guys are going to be, your second guy in if you have taken someone up high, or you're going to be getting maybe three of these guys in this range if you're going for a more balance. So I like Finau, I like the pick, I like the price, I like the value. Ownership's my only concern.
Yeah, fair.
My next one here, and probably a guy where ownership's going to be a concern because he's an absolute stud in majors. Louis Oosthuizen, a guy similar to you picking Finau. I probably pick Oosty in basically every major. And there's a lot of reasons, you'll see why here in a sec.
And it's worked out for us.
Yeah, so 8,100 on DraftKings 21st, 10,000 on FanDuel 20th. I just think you're getting a decent value with upside at that, that kind of ranking within the field. You look at the strokes gained total stats, I think they reflect that. 14th in the last 3 months, 7th in the last 6 months, and then even long term, he's 17th over the past 2 years at 1.39. So you look at Usti is just so kind of consistently good right now. So this is the last 30 rounds, he's gained strokes in 26 of them. That's not even including the Zurich Classic where he went into a playoff. That was a team event where he played with Charles. Clearly he would have been gaining strokes in those rounds to end up tied for the lead at the end. But over those 30 rounds, he's averaging over 2 strokes, 2.14. I just think his game's in a really good spot. I think he's kind of not doing anything. I mean, the putter would be the one thing that's standing out, but it's not really like that's super unsustainable. Like he's always been a good putter. Yes, it's maybe a few tenths of a stroke higher than what is long-term sustainable, but I still think it's not outlandish. But then you look at his major records, and this is just what pushes me over the top with Usti. Last 6 U.S. Opens, his average finish is 12.3. So, just tons of value there. I think he does well on hard courses. I think he is totally unfazed by big tournaments, big moments. 49 major starts. He's been first or second 6 times. 14.2% of the time. That is crazy. Like those are similar numbers to Dustin Johnson. It's just really, really exceptional how well he performs on these big tournaments, tough courses, on all of them essentially. Call it a PGA Championship, U.S. Open, Open Championship, Masters. It doesn't really matter. He gets results at all of them. Only 2 starts at Torrey. He was there this year. He got the 29th and 41st the first time. I don't really give him obviously they're not the best. They're made cuts. They're not the worst. I think Usti is one of these guys that performs better in big tournaments than he does week to week. Call him Brooks Koepka light, but I just think that he finds a way to maintain his ability to score as it gets harder, and everyone else's ability to score kind of falls off a bit. So I like Usti. I think he's going to be popular. That's my one concern about him. Yeah.
I think with Torrey, it's just kind of neutral. I think it shows that he just wanted to play this event a couple times, get a little bit familiar with the course before the U.S. Open. So I think it's kind of neutral. The 41st, 29th, he's seen it a few times now, which is good. You see the greens a couple times, see a couple different pin locations. You just a little bit more familiar with it. I do think it's unfortunate that of that 14.2%, about 12 of that is second place.
Yeah.
But that it's hard to win majors.
It's hard to win majors, and being right there. I mean, he's been in playoffs that he's lost. It's tough to win majors.
I need to do a little bit closer look at that range. I've kind of narrowed my player pool. Like a first cut went from 150, whatever it is, down to kind of 50, 60 guys. He's in that. I don't know. I think he's going to make the player pool. I'm not 100% sure, but a lot of reasons that he should.
Yeah. Well, if you don't like money, then I wouldn't put him in your pool. But if you do, then probably put him in there.
All right. Okay, my third pick. Paul Casey. Going with Paul Casey for my third pick here, 7,900 on DraftKings, 24th, 21st on FanDuel, 9,900. Both under kind of the averages there, but a little bit better on DraftKings, I think. It just kind of seems like a absurd price on DraftKings. So looking at his 11 stroke play events in 2021, if we're looking, okay, he's 24th ranked pricing. In 11 stroke play events, he's been top 26 9 times. Also, 1 win, 7 top 10s. Like his 2021 is completely I feel like kind of disrespected that nobody talks about how well he is playing this year. Like he's kind of playing unbelievable. 7 top 10s in 11 events. That's incredible. His Torrey history here, kind of spotty. I would kind of put it with Louis Oosthuizen, a little bit more appearances here, but nothing really to write home about. 3 of 5 made cuts, 2 top 30s. Again, he's seen the course, but I feel like it's just a better fit than perhaps his performances have been. Maybe a USGA gets a little bit tougher. These kind of guys, these grinders, these guys that can play on tough courses rise to the top a little bit. But looking at his average U.S. Open history, 17 events. Obviously, Paul Casey in his 40s now has been around the block a few times. 11 of 17 made cuts, 1 top 10, 5 top 25s. Again, not something that I like the 5 top 25s, but I would like to see him kind of pushing to the top a little bit. But even the 5 top 25s, the 24th pricing, it's not going to hugely disappoint you. It might not be optimal lineup, but it's not going to disappoint you at 7,900. He has that experience. So he did play here in 2008 as well. U.S. Open 2008. He's one of these guys that has played in both. He's T65 there. So made the cut. He was a lot younger then, a little bit of a different golfer, but he made the cut there. T65, decent. But really, last 6 months on Data Golf, he ranks 3rd in strokes gained total at plus 2.06, behind only Jordan Spieth and Jon Rahm. So his last 6 months, he is the 3rd best golfer in the world playing at the U.S. Open. It's just really good. Also,
I don't know if I'd go that far. I would say that he has gained the 3rd most strokes of golfers over the past 6 months.
Yeah, I'm just kind of putting a little exclamation point on it. But in his last 11 strokes gained recorded starts, he's gained on strokes gained approach in all of them.
Yeah.
So he's hitting the ball well.
No, and essentially what I'm saying there is that it's sort of the classic. What are we counting with strokes gained total? We're counting, how have they've gained strokes relative to the fields they've been playing in. He has played in some good fields. He's played in some bad fields, and he's gained strokes along the way compared to some of these guys that like a Jon Rahm plays in much fewer tournaments and plays only really in the strongest fields. So I do totally agree with you. I think that Paul. So first off, just on Paul Casey. I think it's value. I worry about ownership, and that's where I'll have to. Likely, I think he'll be in my pool. I am going to look a little bit at the U.S. Open history because I do want to see kind of what ones was he missing cuts at, which ones was he making cuts at, because he, I don't really think of him as a bomber. And so if this is a course where it's not really going to matter so much, everyone's kind of going to miss and make a similar percent of the fairways. And so being 20 yards further up it is going to really be advantageous. And that's where, Louis is not that, and some of the guys I'm picking are not necessarily bombers, and so I just kind of want to see how he has done in the different types of U.S. Opens, because the miscuts. I do like the 5 top 25s. It's the 6 miscuts that concern me. Have those been more recent? All that type of thing. But generally, Paul Casey's form is great. I do think that, 7,900. I just feel like he should be in the. I mean, I think Justin Rose, who we've spoken about already for this tournament, has a good U.S. Open history, a good Torrey Pines history. Yep. He's more expensive than Paul Casey right now, which based on the last 6 months, I really don't get that.
It's pretty much all on a putter, while Paul Casey has kind of done it all over the world with his ball striking and putting at different times. So he's just had a really solid year, really solid year.
Yeah, and another guy I feel like you seem to be. We'd have to go back and look, but I seem like he's in your picks every major.
He might be.
Good chance. Yeah. Okay, my last one here. I decided to go with someone that I don't even know if has been in my player pool in a few of these majors, but I'm starting to be a believer. Jason Kokrak, and he's coming in. This is the bare bottom that we look at for our pick show. We go 75 and under in our sleeper show, but Jason Kokrak comes in at 7,600. He's 30th in the field, 31st on FanDuel at 9,400. To me, this is maybe a bit of a contrarian. Like, I don't think his ownership's going to get super high. I could be wrong on that. But you look at it, you look at the strokes gained total stats. I think it's just kind of good value. You look long term, he's 31st in this field. He's gaining a stroke. Shorter term, he's gaining 1.5 strokes, basically 1.4. 24th in the field. He's got the 2 wins this year. I think the thing with Kokrak is I'm trying to look at him this year as a totally different player than he has been in the past, because the putter has transformed. So we look at Jason Kokrak. Long term, he's a ball striking stud. He has averaged exactly 1 stroke. It's actually 0.99 rounded up to be a stroke. Okay. But strokes gained ball striking over 6 seasons. We're talking 426 rounds of golf, mostly PGA Tour golf, obviously. But yeah, he's gaining a full stroke there, which is really, really good. The putter, some of those seasons he's lost with the putter, some of them he's gained slightly. He has dramatically changed in terms of his results because the putter has been very good. I think he's changed the length of his putter. He's done a few little tweaks to his putter, and it has just dramatically changed his results. On the season, he's about a 5.87, I think, strokes gained on the season putting, but he's gained putting in 27 of his last 32 rounds. Over that time, he's averaging 0.93 strokes gained putting a round. I love that. We've seen him be competitive, both obviously in Vegas where he won, but then also on the West Coast. The real concern for me, the weakness is around the greens. He's negative strokes gained every season since 2013. It's usually like minus 0.1, minus 0.2. So it's not brutal, but it's still, we're talking greens that are smaller than PGA Tour average. People are, greens and regulation is not going to be what it is at a normal Farmers Insurance Open. So, is that enough to hold him back? I like the ball striking and putting. I'll give up, I'll give up the around the green play because he's 7,600. If I'm paying 8,500 for it, I don't really want to see those weaknesses. Last five starts at Torrey, 25th, miscut, 20th, 21st, 29th. Last U.S. Open, he was 17th at Windfoot. Not a great major record aside from that, but again, I'm kind of looking at Jason Kokrak a little bit differently right now than in the past. So I think he's kind of sneaky, putter, ball striker. Typically a good formula.
I like it. Kokrak's actually already in the player pool. I've already kind of put a check mark beside him. I'm playing him. Of interest in his putting, his second best putting statistic on the season is plus 2.13 at Genesis. So again, at Riviera with those Poa was neutral at Farmers Insurance this year, but that it's also putting. It's very variable. Week in, week out.
And I think he played well at is it Sherwood where they played the Zozo this year? I don't know what his putter was there, but I'm pretty sure he had a good result there.
Yeah, plus 1.36. So obviously playing well on the West Coast. And around the green, like to put it in perspective, it's not great, but it's been minus like 0.2 to 0.16. Like that you need a lot of holes for that to really make a difference. Maybe 1 stroke over the course of a tournament kind of deal. So it's not like he's awful bleeding strokes all the time.
Well, and to me, I like to try to combine that with, is he gaining with his short game or is he losing with his short game? And he still is dramatically gaining because the putter's so good. So even if he's, maybe some guy puts it to 3 foot and he puts it to 6 foot, but he makes his putt, it all kind of comes out in the wash that way. So I'm curious to know what happens with ownership. I'm hoping he can be one of my, lower guys in lineups that maybe comes in at a little bit lower owned than I feel like they should be.
Yeah, it's still Monday, so we still got to figure that out through the week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Craig. Speaking of the week, what we got going on this week? U.S. Open week. So our preview picks and bold predictions podcast is already out. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can watch, listen to that. Craig talks about Louis Oosthuizen there. A bold prediction on Louis Oosthuizen. I'm not going to give it away. Go watch that. It's pretty good. This is our pick show, obviously, out on Monday. DFS Sleepers will be coming soon on Monday as well. What else this week? We got our
just real quick on that. We talk about our preview picks and bold predictions podcast. We talk about it being penciled in. I picked Rahm, not as my one and done, but as my pick to win. I'm thinking about maybe changing that to Rory. Just so you know, I'm thinking about it.
Interesting. Okay, a little tease, midweek tease. I like it. So Craig and I are going to do a DFS preview podcast, kind of a new format we tested out last week. We're going to do it again this week. Then tiers, live DFS show Wednesday, and then our showdown, of course, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Ton of content. So make sure subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up to show support. And yeah, it's going to be a great week at the U.S. Open, Craig.
Yeah, let us know your picks. I guess pick to win 7,600 and above. If we'll throw it up there. I just was checking the show from last week. We had a lot of people on the sleeper show, but no one picked Garrett Higgo over on the pick show. So let us know who you like to win.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, see ya. Good luck this week.
See you guys.